Hi everyone, this is Dango from Rocky Valley server. In this video, we are going to talk about farming philosophy and future summon recommendations. Like Langrisser Mobile is a very strategic game, and the strategy part is not only in real battle but also in how you plan on spending all your resources. So these actually are very important components of this game. So the first we are going to talk about farming philosophy. So farming philosophy is going to be different, depends on what player you are. If you are like free to play casual player, if you are free to play competitive players, if you are planktons or dolphins, or if you are whales, they all have very different farming philosophy. For example, for daily bread purchase, I would recommend for the complete free to play player and the casual player to spend zero amount of crystal to buy breads. This is just because their playing objective is a little bit different from the others. They probably just want to collect as many characters as possible and to try to finish, maybe a majority like 60% of the PVE or higher level PVE content. In this case, you don't really have to spend any resource on like training and other things. Just to use the free stuff and try to save all the crystals for summon and then try to get as many characters as possible. This is your philosophy basically. But if you are free to play and you want to be competitive though, I recommend you to at least do the 40 crystal purchase to get the 120 breaths every day. 120 breaths every day for 30 days is already over 4,000, like close to 5,000 breaths. This is going to make a huge difference over time. So you can actually farm a lot of gem SSR materials from that. And for like using 40 crystal to exchange for 120 breaths is super worth it. For me, I think for like planktons and dolphins or like free-to-play players, the value of like crystals to breaths is like one crystal for basically two breaths. So basically 60 crystal for 120 breaths is kind of the level that you are looking for, but you are free to play, so you have limited resources. You still want to summon very critical characters, so I don't recommend you to go very far. Just basically 40 for refill is fine. But if you are dolphin or planktons, you spend a little bit in this game. Crystal is not a huge problem for you. You should have something to summon at least one copy of the characters you want. In this case, I would actually recommend you to use both the 40 and 60 breaths for refill. And then for dolphins, it's like, whatever, just use all the crystals for farm. You will have a huge amount of advantage against other players, especially in PvP, if you can farm like up to 200 breaths every day. So that's for whales. And then for summons, for free to play players who is like just playing this game casually, I would say just a summon for like focus the summon characters and then limited time characters. Yeah, just because like in this game you have tons of free resource, you can summon those limited time banner characters, and then you can just basically every characters will show up at least one time over time in this focused banner. So you just take this focused banner, you should be able to collect all the characters without too much trouble. Uh, we already have like free-to-play players that's close to have all characters in this game. And the other, if you want to be competitive though, I think for free-to-play players, it is very important that you skip some of the banners. Especially the normal retail banner is not designed for you if you are not, if the quality of the banner is not that great, it is not designed for you to summon. You may likely have a disaster result if you try to summon one of the two characters in a retail banner. So the best strategy for you is to save all the good resources for all the good banner. For example, the upcoming Yulia and the Omega banner is a very good quality banner that you can put a ton of resource on, but you still need to save a little bit just because later, we will discuss this later also. Just because later you will have collaboration summons, which is a limited time summon. So yeah, but for competitive free-to-play players, you should skip some of the even focused banner and most of the retail banner and just put your resource on those good banners. We used to have two good banners, which is Zareda and the Jadular, and and Landius and Ritual. these two banners are of highest security. And then you can pick up the characters you really need in focus the banner. If the rate up banner is not that great, then the limited banner is something in a lower in a lower in a lower importance even, just because even those limited time characters may not be in your box. So if that's the case, for example, the Sakura and Sumeri, if they are not in your box, then you probably just skip this. And then for like planktons and dolphins, I would say the philosophy is actually kind of similar to free-to-play players, but you do want to collect all the limited time banner in this case, just because you have a little bit more resource. You don't want to miss out those limited banner because it will take long time for them to come back. So if they get a very good like modifications later, for example, a very strong level 70 skill, then they can be very, very strong later on. So it is good to keep one copy of those limited time banner characters. And then for whales, it's like whatever. For gold purchases, for free to play, I don't recommend you to buy gold. For competitive free to play, I say maybe you can buy gold when you are trying to upgrade. For example, you are trying to upgrade bonds and gems. You can buy gold. Never use it to wash or to to change the enchants. This is like for free to play players. If even if you want to become very competitive, you have to think about like your enchant goals seriously because you have very limited resource on that. And for planktons and dolphins, then maybe I suggest. I mean, you spend some weekly gold pack is actually a very good pack for you to buy, just because the gold value there is better than just directly buy gold from crystal. And if you really need more, then you can consider buy some. But I just recommend the weekly gold pack in this case. And then for whales, again whatever. And then for gambling events, like the Lotto events, for free-to-play players, no matter like casual or competitive, the best philosophy is always to not summon, to not gamble at all. But sometimes you just get crazy about the skins, and you just for example, the playoff in a week is in a week, and you really need one of the characters to have one skill. So in that case, I would say you will do the gambling event, but most likely you will skip that. Even for planktons and dolphins, I don't really recommend them to go for like gambling event just because Runestone is not that rare if you play this game long enough. It is not a problem if you play in late game. And then like, but if you really have a skin that you like, for example, the Rada's musical skin is going to be in gambling event is very top level. Lanfonts is in gambling event, very top level. Lamata is in gambling event, top level. Jugular's skin is I mean it only has one skin for Jugular and is in gambling event. So those skins is the skins that I would go for. But if you don't like the skin, then there is probably not a reason for you to do this kind of gambling unless like you really need the runestone for like fast. And then like for whales, it is like just a go for everything, I guess. They like to collect all these fancy skins as well. And then for bright usage in this case, for casual players, I suggest them to do like Dragon and Gem at 1:1 ratio, just because they may need to get some of the best weapons. They don't use a lot of breads, so the chance of them to get the best weapon for some of the characters can be extremely hard. So I still recommend them to do some dragon farming. But if you become a free to play player and you want to be competitive, then you still need to do some gyms, actually a lot of gyms, because gym level is very important. If you think about like a single target skill, lots of the time, your troop is going to play an important role for you, to decide if you can one shot your enemy. So yeah, so farming gym is even very important for free to play players as well if they want to be very competitive. And then for planktons and dolphins you spend in this game, there is no, I mean, you get extra extra hours every week. You can gamble like anything. If you don't have some, you can just like always gamble every week. The chance of getting the best weapon or accessory from Dragon Rune is very extremely low anyway. So in that case, the best usage is actually to just gamble for the gear you need and just do the dailies for the dragon and then use all the rest of the price for gym. And this is basically the same thing for whales. For whales, I would say they never do like dragon rune really besides daily, just because whales like sometimes they summon for like gear banner. They usually don't need any extra gears, so like farming dragon has basically no meaning for them basically. So they will just go for gyms. And then for guild point usage for like free to play players and also planktons and dolphins, I would say you should get the weekly gold just because gold is a very limiting resource. And then other you just wait for all the upgrade materials for both the class mastery and also the weapon and gear level up. For whales, you don't buy gold because you don't need gold here. If you want to buy gold, just use crystal, and then you can save the points for later hardbound material. Hardbound materials will be added to the guild shop soon, probably at around the 1 year anniversary. So we will see. But yeah, even like your plankton, you're free to play, you can still save a lot of guild points for the later hardbound material, which is actually very very useful. So then let's talk about the future banners. So as the like videos I made previously, you guys already figured that Yulia and Omega is going to be a very important banner, a very high quality banner. For all the competitive free-to-play players, dolphins, whales, they are going to try hard on this banner. But if you are free to play, uh, please save at least 100 summons at the end of this banner, or at the end of this month. You should at least have 100 summons prepared for the 2 consecutive banner for the UU Club. The problem for UU Club is that although there are 2 new banners, there is only 1 equal of light period, and these 2 banners they are back-to-back banners, which suggests you will have limited time to farm crystals if you want to try to summon in both banners. So really for free-to-play players, you should still summon in this banner and maybe try to get extra copies, but really to save at least 100 summon at the end of the month, because then here Yusuke and Heide are both very very important. The banner quality is not great, but this is a limited banner, which means you still need to get 1 copy of Yusuke and 1 copy of Heide. So this is going to be very important. So yeah, just make sure that you have enough to summon them. You don't need to pull for extra copies just because the procurity banner. And after Yulia and Omega, you probably don't have a lot of like vouchers saved. So just try to get 1 copy of Yusuke and 1 copy of Haley here. But if you are well, I mean, just summon everything for 6 star. If you are like planktons and like dolphins, depends on like how many you saved. You can try maybe like a few extra copy for these 2 characters. But then there is going to be a long time where the summon you don't really need to summon. For example, this reinforce and Beatty summon is not worth it. Just will summon here or full up. And then this banner Shoujo Jessica and Amelia is a very I would say is above average banner. It really depends on what your box looks like. Maybe you have no chance to use these 2 characters at all. But if you focus on like Impair and Princess, or if you focus on like Origin of Light and Glory, and also like Kizalov's faction, then Shoujo Jessica is actually very very strong. So yeah, it really depends on what your box looks like. So this may or may not be a banner that you try hard to summon. And then for all these focused banners, starting at here, the Claret and Thierry's Luna banner, this is going to have a exchange system employed. So which means if you get one of the characters at 6 star, and then you pull extra copy of the same characters, you can actually use that extra shards to trade for one of the other characters in this banner. But you can only trade one time in each of the banners. So I mean, it's pretty good that you can get extra shards, which is going to be 50 shard. So do remember, if you don't have one of the character, they need to have 60 shard for you to summon them. So the exchanged shard for one time is not going to be enough for you to summon them. So actually, I made a mistake. So for all these exchange, you have two limits. So you can exchange for 100 shard at maximum. So this is not like very high. It's not unlimited, but this is still good, especially for budget players or like for for dolphins. They can use this kind of banner to try to get higher star for the important characters. So this is basically my recommendations for future summons, up to the Amelia and the Shoujo Jessica banner. So we will talk more after maybe a few months. We will update and see what you should summon. So this banner is provided by Reddit. I really so I acknowledge the author of this Reddit user who made this banner. Yeah, who made this banner schedule that is very helpful for our players. So that's all about this video, and peace.